that I said incorrectly yesterday was hyperinflation. So the US has had 10% inflation in a given year. And that's what I said it was. Hyperinflation is around 50% or more. It says there's no set number, but most economists go around 50% inflation is considered hyperinflation, not the 10% I said yesterday. So if you wrote that down yesterday, it was on the 4 different types of inflation. The US has not had anything that high. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead. Just have a couple of questions I want to kind of ask in the chat. How do you think stores set their prices? There's multiple ways, but what do you think, 1 or 2 ways that stores? Who determines what that loaf of bread costs? Who determines what your new pairs of jeans costs?
Maybe the amount of profit that the person will make off of you buying those jeans.
Okay, so it has to be profitable. Yeah, so whoever, if you're buying jeans, whatever store is getting them, if they didn't make them, they're going to need a profit. Production costs, but higher. Prices and sales tax, the demand, popularity, MSRP, the manufacturing. The highest price people will pay for it. So why do they have to be careful when setting prices?
Maybe if they set it too high, they'll drive away customers.
Yeah, definitely. If something's too high, they might drive away customers. Yeah, no one will buy it. All right. Or they can't afford it, definitely. So what we are doing today, section 2 in chapter 3 is prices and consumer choices. So section 2, prices and consumer choices. So the first learning objective, again, you don't need to write the objectives down. Describe different methods of setting prices in a market economy. Remember, the US has a market economy. And explain how consumers' buying strategies affect prices in a market economy. All right, so there are 4 methods that sellers use to price products. So a normal profit is a profit that allows a business to survive and grow. And we've seen this equation there before, so you can write it down again. Profit is revenues minus expenses. We looked at that when we were computing profit for entrepreneurs. Revenues, how much money is brought in, minus expenses, how much money did they spend? So a normal profit allows a business to survive and grow. So the first method is cost recovery pricing. Setting an introductory price high to recover the research and development costs, R&D. So if the business had to put a large amount of money in to develop the product, they're going to have to recover that cost. Because the price is high, when a company has a product with a high price, that's inviting for competition, because then they can try to create something that costs less, but a similar product. So cost recovery, they are going to recover the price to develop it. Cost plus pricing is setting a price based on production plus the production cost plus a markup. Geez, sorry. So this is what most of you had kind of mentioned when I did ask that question. How much should it cost to make it? Plus they're going to mark that up so that you pay more. A markup is the percentage amount added to production cost to obtain the price of an item, also known as the gross profit margin. So this cost plus pricing ensures that the store will make a profit pending that the sell is successful, that people buy the product. Value-based pricing is setting a price based on how much consumers are willing to pay. The product will be sold for the highest price consumers are willing to pay. So companies have to do research ahead of time so that they find out what the value-based pricing is. What are consumers willing to pay? And then the last method is market-based pricing, which is setting a price to be competitive with prices of similar products currently being sold, also known as competition-based pricing. So if you make a product similar to one that's already out there, you can set a price that's going to be competitive with that. Excuse me. Product differentiation is marketing of products with emphasis on how their product is different and better than similar products. And it may be used to justify higher pricing. So if you see an ad for, you know, an iPhone versus an Android or one or the other, they're going to say what qualities that phone has versus the other one. It's a battery life better, the resolution, the camera quality. I don't even know what you would look for in a phone, but they're going to emphasize what makes that product better than the competition's product. So those are the 4 different methods. So cost recovery pricing, cost plus pricing, value-based pricing, and market-based pricing. Okay, and so how do buying strategies affect prices? So stores can set their prices, but buying strategies also affect prices. So rational buying is a process of selecting goods and services based on need, want, and logical choices. Emotional buying is a process of purchasing products based on desire rather than logic. You buy when you feel sad, angry, lonely, etc. And impulse buying is purchasing something on spur of the moment without thinking it through or planning the purchase. Impulse buying, I know I'm very guilty of that. But things like if you go to the grocery store, that they put kind of on the ends of the aisles or even right at the cash register, most of that is impulse buying. Most of that stuff in there, you don't need, you don't necessarily plan on buying, but you see it and you're like, oh, I'm going to grab this. At least that's how it is for me. I don't think it through and I just buy it. And impulse buying, when it's on a small scale, isn't necessarily the worst. It can add up and cost you a lot of money. But if it is larger purchases, that's when it's definitely a bigger concern. So emotional and impulse buying can lead to buyer's remorse. What buyer's remorse is when you later realize that you made a poor buying decision or you got into debt. So anytime you buy something using debt, like a credit card, not a debit card, but credit card, you pay more for the item because you're paying interest on it, unless you pay it off immediately, which we'll talk more when we get into credit. And then you may end up paying for that item for many months. Again, that's not necessarily the pack of gum or mints that are at the end of by the cash register. But some bigger items that you buy out of impulse or emotional buying, especially if you put them on credit, you're gonna most likely pay interest on it. And if you don't use credit and you have money for it, that is money that you could have possibly better spent somewhere else. So buyer's remorse is realizing you made a poor buying decision. But you might hear people say, but it's worth it. It's an investment. So be careful with using that word. Investments have the potential to make you more money, whereas an expense are things that don't have potential to make you more money. So to truly be an investment, they have the potential to make you more money. Okay. And then there's two strategies for rational buying decisions. So hopefully your buying decisions are all rational, not impulse and emotional. So there's economizing, which is saving as much as possible and spending money only when necessary. You wait till it's necessary to buy an item and then spend as little as possible on that item. It allows you to meet basic needs and save or invest. So it has some advantages. It can result in not buying something at all. You delay buying it and realize you don't need it. And it can lead to saving and better spending habits. It's okay. And then optimizing is getting the highest value for the money spent. You may buy in bulk to get a discount or buy high quality. Beware of overspending because you bought the item because it was on sale. So some sales aren't great sales, but they make it appear that way. What's up, buddy?
My robot feet popped off.
Your what popped off? Oh, your robot feet? Okay, if it can fix it in a minute.
But it's when my roomie was robot feet.
Okay, I'll get it in just a minute. I'm almost done. So when consumers are optimizing, demand is higher when prices are lower. Again, because you want to get the best value for your money. The highest value for your money spent. But don't lead to overspending. Don't buy in bulk if it's going to go bad. Like if it's just you and you go to Costco to buy produce and then it ends up rotting because you bought too much of it. That's not a good use of your money then. All right. So economizing is different from optimizing because economizing is delaying spending. And optimizing is getting the highest value for your money spent. That is our last slide for today. So do we have any questions about anything from today, any of last night's homework that you might need me to go over? Are you looking at yourself?